Hold on. This is making me hungry. I'm going to be right back.
We're big. All right. Well, thank you, listener, for bearing with us. Benny just left to go bake a cake. Benny, that looks like a 1-layer pizza, Benny. That's 22 layers short of the excellence.
You need to stack 22 more.
You made it? You that's a homemade pizza? Like, that's not like a Red Baron that you put in the oven.
No,
you like
Trader Joe's has some really good pizza dough and pizza sauce. And so it's not totally from scratch, but yeah, I put it together.
That's all right.
Hey, you've got the experience.
I rolled the dough. I was the pizza professor.
Yeah.
Shout out Roundtable.
That was your job title at Roundtable, was pizza professor?
Yeah, but he just go around telling he was the professor.
Wasn't the professor? Oh my God,
He's from Oregon.
I know he's from Oregon. Grayson Beauchamp or Boucher?
Boucher, yeah.
Grayson Boucher. Man, if you had shown up in an And One mixtape as the pizza professor, as like the antagonist of the professor,
just spinning the pizza box on my finger.
Right. Oh my goodness. That's the And One spinoff we didn't know we needed.
Hey, speaking of vintage basketball, did you see we put out a picture of your high school hoops We're All Witnesses ad?
I did see that.
Did you?
Yeah.
I did see that.
I don't know who we were replying to.
What was that? Andre has the very grainy, not original image of my high school basketball photo. Very handy. It's impressive how handy he has that. For those asking, I'm not the one who put that on Twitter. just so everyone knows, I'm not like sitting here on my podcast Twitter account just waiting to share my high school basketball photo from
your Nike
17 years ago.
But he is the one who photoshopped Witness into the into the photo.
JP is the one who photoshopped Witness. When we were like,
it was
we were 22. This was a Nike Photoshop campaign. Benny. It's not Photoshop, but it's an actual campaign. It is an underdog story.
Yeah.
Who did? No, we need to give this Twitter user a shout out. It's gonna be so hard to find this though.
Oh, okay. I don't know who this person is, but it's at Jim Jeffrey 11. I don't know.
Jim Jeffrey's the comedian?
No, they follow us for some reason. I don't think they follow like literally any other Oregon State accounts. Just us, and they live in Reston, Virginia.
We're all you need, baby. And like I said, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't question the out of state presence.
Wait, Jim Jeffries 11?
It's Jim Jeffrey. I know I liked this from my own personal account, so maybe that's a faster way to find it. I'm still.
No, it has no likes. It has no likes.
It has no likes?
No.
I for sure liked it. See, Elon took my like away. Elon didn't even like it. Elon took it away because of how epic it was. It for real had my high school basketball Nike campaign has 0 likes on Twitter.
It has 37 views. So if you got one more, your like to view ratio would be better, but now worse than Wayne Tinkle's road record. The last.
Are you looking at the tweet right now? Do you have it handy? Can you text it to Benny? Text it to Benny and I in the group chat.
Oh, I got it.
Just look at my look at the reply.
It has 1 like.
Oh, it has a like. I'm gonna like it from the Belligerent Beefs account. Sorry, Andre, I hijacked it.
Maybe I was gonna come back and like this later. Yeah, Tinkle now won 40 and last 41 round games. You could do that and make 2.7 million. Also, Andre said Terry Horseman was a hell of a hooper back in his day, so maybe. And then a very pale. This is a very well lit photo, though, even though it's kind of grainy.
No, it's because I photoshopped it when I was 22 and made it look better.
You didn't Photoshop those muscles into it, though.
I added some definition.
You just
you did not. You did not add any definition. That's real.
No, sorry. I meant the hairline.
The hairline could potentially be added.
It's so straight.
Look,
it's so straight.
Like, hold on. Let me.
It's like LeBron. You got it drawn in for your high school photo day.
Look at the comparison.
Dude, that mean mug would have had me shook on the court.
Dude,
you look like you're gonna fuck somebody up in that.
Did you walk around everywhere with your legs spread and your arms out like you were gonna cross someone over, but just never did? Think about how much of a mind fuck that would be if you just kept walking up to everyone like,
See, that was the move. Everyone was trying to cross over like AI back then, and I was just like, you just think the crossover is coming. There are people who still have dreams at night waiting for me to cross them over, and I'm still just like, nope.
I would be your Tyronn Lue if I played basketball with you.
There was no shot clock. What am I rushing for? There is no shot clock. I don't even know if there is a shot clock in high school basketball today.
Probably not.
There was no. What am I rushing for? Well, I know I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna cross you over on my time.
Crossover.
In the future, I'm going to start doing tags and promos at the top of episodes now. No longer sequestered to the bottom when very few people are, if any, are still listening.
Oh,
that's JP Bertram at JP Bertram on Instagram. At the Trial J on Twitter. That's at the _Trial_J because he's too Trial to be real. That was him saying, yeah, saying in agreement. It's rare when the three of us all agree so clearly on things that it can be stamped with a subtle just if you concur.
We know each other so well. We have our special language.
And concurring with that sign of community is Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage, aka Benny with the Good Quaff. I'll leave the rest of your nicknames to the end of the episode, Wehage, because
nice.
Although it might fill the rest of the time that we're waiting until our special guest gets here. At Benny L 1986 on your social media channels. Hi, Benny.
Hi. How are you?
It looked like you watched a lot of college baseball this weekend. Not only in the things you were celebrating, but you were also talking a lot of shit, and we love to see it. That is, if you don't have a friend who talks shit about college baseball in February, enter Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian. Again, Benny L 1986 on the social media channel. Just coming for everyone. The last thing I saw before we started recording was you just coming for the Big Ten. And it's in my personal notes to talk about the significance of the Beavs 10-run ruling a team from the Big Ten, a top shelf team from the Big Ten, at least in branding. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna come in hot. The guys are gonna be like, yeah, Terry, get him. And then Benny's Twitter feed is just like, the Big Ten is a disgrace to the game of baseball.
I think that's verbatim what I said. Yeah, well, I do have to say, I think the one sport Oregon can go undefeated in is baseball, but that's not because they have a good program. The Big Ten is a complete joke of a
Oregon
baseball.
Will win a Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
In baseball.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Probably.
Good job, Oregon.
They were losing. I mean, Northeastern actually does have a really good team this year, but they were losing to like
Northeastern. Northeastern's not in the Big Ten.
No, but there was a Big Ten school that lost to them today. Northeastern's good though. Northeastern's top 25. And if you would have looked at the scores that I posted in
Northwestern, you posted like 9 scores. I didn't look at all of them.
Because literally every single Big Ten team lost, except for Indiana. Shout out Aaron Stevens.
Shout out Aaron Stevens, our friend. JP, please play 5 seconds of This Is Indiana by those 2 white guys who went to Indiana in 2008.
Big Ten, who's your daddy? No, really, who's your daddy? Yeah, your school's coming up short. What? I know you.
Yeah. They were wearing like candy cane pants.
That song that Stevens showed us back in
those guys also do like a party anthem.
They
did.
Whatever. In the era of white guys making auto-tune college-themed hip-hop anthems, theirs was one of the better ones. And that was obviously an era that we paid very close attention to. And of course, my name is Terry Horseman at Terry Horseman on Twitter, at Horseman on Instagram.com. And we 3 are the Belligerent Beeves. And this is the Belligerent Beeves podcast. I need to say we 3 more because I like the way that sounds.
Men.
Yeah.
We 3.
Question.
We 3 Beeves.
Question for you guys. what anthem do you think was better, the IU anthem or the I Hate Your Ducks anthem?
The IU anthem.
Wrong answer.
No, a better anthem.
I hate you.
Wasn't it?
I
hate them.
It was I hate.
I
those
hate
ducks.
that.
Wasn't it? It wasn't. It
No,
wasn't even the
because-
right.
No. Yeah.
It wasn't
wait,
even
it
the
was?
right. It wasn't even the right wordplay. I don't think. Anyway, that's not important. We have to talk about this, especially because Benny's about to blow a gasket because of how excited he is. EA Sports has made it official. NCAA football. We're in the game, and when we say
we are not in the game.
No, Belligerent Beefs is in the game. I'm breaking news here. When you play with the Oregon State Beavers in NCAA football 25, we will be providing the audio. No, you cannot opt out of that. That is part of it.
There isn't even a way to turn us down in little settings.
Yeah, and there's a glitch in the game too. Well, not really like a glitch, a planned thing where if you even use your TV remote, not even the game remote, to try and turn it down, it only makes JP louder. It's called the Will You Quiet Louder function.
Will you quiet louder? We're it's play-by-play from the terrace.
From the terrace.
And it's great.
And by the time it's the fourth quarter, we're not even talking about the game anymore because we've already had like 9 Coors Lights from the terrace, from the great terrace kiosks from Mr. Brown, supporting Cascade baseball, baby. We're just doing our duty of supporting youth baseball. So yeah, by the first quarter, and now the play-by-play is, very on the dot. It's all of us in our respective lanes, not over talking each other, whatever. And then by the third one, it's like Jersey Mike's is fucking good. Fuck you, JP.
And super secret producer Eskinder's just throwing up foam and cups. And
while you're mounting a fourth quarter comeback, it's like, no, play 5 seconds from this album. That's the name of the album. I know. Who doesn't want to do? But EA Sports NCAA football is back, baby. It'll be EA Sports 25. As you know, they always do that with 1 year ahead of time. For this season, I don't know that we've seen an official date drop yet.
Rumors July.
Rumors July-ish. So
mid-July.
But that's when it always was. That's when it used to be too.
Yeah.
So it would make it
yeah,
more
it
sense.
used to always be July. So they still got time. What I have been told and what I've read in periodicals is that all players are being given the opportunity to buy into being in the game. And by doing so, they each get $600 and a free copy of the game on the console of their choice, which, of course, we were talking about NIL with Nick Daschel. I don't know if that interview is coming before or after this in the pod. So either you just listen to us talk with Nick Daschel or you're about to listen to us talk with Nick Daschel. Either way, NIL is a thing that's happening in college athletics. And so there's some reaction to it that's just like, man, like that's just like fucking peanuts. But honestly, when pre-NIL and like during NIL, when I was like thinking about what I wanted NIL to be and the opportunities for it to provide.
That's a football.
Yeah, pay it like because like this all started when like Ed O'Bannon and other athletes were like, you can't just use my fucking likeness and profit, you assholes.
Yeah.
And when it's like collective things, I think $600 and a free copy of the game is more than fair. And was like the common sense catch-all move that they should have done in like 06.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that long ago.
Well, they did look at that. Remember when they first were saying they can't make it anymore after the ruling, they did talk about paying the players, but they couldn't do it because NIL didn't work out like that way.
And
so
they
it was like we had to pay them after college.
Shit. Yeah. So it's if a player does opt in, then the likeness will be spot on as it was, and that player's first name, last name, and info will be there. And if they choose not to, I'm guessing a very similar looking player will be there with some innocuous name, like the great video game athlete of all time, USC running back number 5 from NCAA 2003, 2004, 2005, whatever year that game was. Remember when Jordan wouldn't even be in video games and he was like, it was 6'6" bald guy named like roster player who was
they did it with Barry Bonds too.
Yeah, Barry Bonds the same way.
Yeah.
I remember I had NBA Live 98 on I guess it was N64, and I was so excited having a 3D basketball game, and then I fire it up and want to go play with the Bulls. It's just like, what?
Jordan's not here.
Where's Jordan?
They didn't market that at all.
No.
And without social media, it's like, can you imagine that today if it was just like, oh, there's this new game, LeBron's not in it, how many kids would just like scream into TikTok and like it would be less than a minute before LeBron's agent would be like, hey, we got to do something about this. Like Rich Paul would be addressing 8-year-olds on TikTok. That's how serious it would be.
Dude, so with this game, NCAA 25, they are doing face scans for all potentially 11,000 football players that will be in the game, which is crazy. And Chris Fowler just came out.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
He said that they're spending days upon days upon days, like long days, doing the commentating, where he's like, if Notre Dame kicks a 75-yard field goal, we have commentary for that. If I forget the other examples he gave, but like it was like these super obscure plays, so it's not going to be the same play-by-play over and over.
So there are still people doing work at ESPN. That's good to know. I hadn't noticed the last few weeks, but
dude, this game's gonna be so sick. I'm so excited for it.
But I'm curious though. Do you guys think this will open the door to some of the other old college sports games? NCAA March Madness turned college basketball, MVP baseball, which was originally MLB turned college before.
There was a college baseball video game.
Yes. Oh, it was so fun. Oregon State. What? MVP baseball?
I had MVP baseball, but it was MLB.
No, but after 05, they went. After 05. Like, we're not doing MLB anymore. We can't. So we're going college. And then it was.
So that was
epic.
like right when Oregon State was
07. Yes. Yeah. And Oregon State was so good.
Shit.
Good timing.
Such a fun game.
I never played that.
I can't believe you never played that.
I'm sorry.
I'm shocked.
But if you think about it, 11,000 athletes that could all get potentially $600 or opt in, which why would you not opt in to be in a video game?
Right.
So I would imagine almost all of them are.
You're holding out for a better offer.
That's going to be like when they take I'm assuming it'll be like during spring camp is when a lot of this will happen, when they're doing their like team photos, whatever, like there'll be a similar scanner right there that just like gets like all of the body shot, headshot, and then like maybe like a couple profiles, and that's all it's going to be for them to need to put you in the game. That's like what they did in the first.
Yeah, EA is going to each school to do face scans at that particular university, just like they do in the for Madden with the NFL game.
What they really need to do with this, which would be incredible, is they need to let there be some sort of competition to be the cover athlete exist. Like,
that is a
not
big
just
topic.
The Heisman gets it, but like at the end of the season, when they're talking about next season, like the fans vote for the Final Four.
Yeah,
and
that should be its own award. And it should be. I don't even know if I'd want it to be straight up fan voting.
No, I'm saying
then it would just be the same schools. Yeah,
the fans narrow it down, or something happens. They give you like the top 10. The fans narrow it to 4.
And
then they pick from the 4.
We decide.
Yeah.
EA Sports College Football 26 will have number 26 Evanson Bernard as its cover athlete.
There we go. But like, but it should be something, not just the award, but like they should give them like, I don't know, a 6-figure deal for being on the cover.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a payday.
Maybe they will do something like that. I don't know, but I feel like they should, because that would be a great driver and motivator for players.
I think they're going to do it by school. I think they're going to have 126 or whatever, however many schools they have in it, different covers. And then you get to pick whatever school that you choose as your favorite will be the cover of Madden.
I can see that.
They did that in the NFL one year, and Seahawks fans were really upset because for the 31 other teams, it was a player on that team. And for the Seahawks, it was just a drunk ass in a Seahawks number 12 fans jersey.
That's what they get for making a jersey about the fans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That remains to all the Seahawks fans who are listening. One, thank you for listening to the Belligerent Beast podcast. We are glad you're here, but also retiring number 12 for the fan, the dumbest thing that's ever been done. Number 12 is an actual number that people wear in football. It's absurd. Anyway, we need to do the Reagan Beer segment. We've been hanging out for almost 2 hours on Zoom. I know not all 2 hours will be in the episode, but this is the official transition to the Reagan Beer segment, JP, if that's any help in the editorial process that will be taking place on Monday. So Reagan Beers, unfortunately, missed another 2 games due to her broken nose, but that doesn't mean that the Reagan Beer segment takes a week off. There are no weeks off, except for that one time where we did forget to do it. I can't remember what episode it was, but we were partaking in festivities. So it's not like we didn't do it. We just didn't announce that we were doing it. Anyway, the Reagan Beer segment, if you are new to the show, is where we share what we are celebrating with on this episode of the Belligerent Beers podcast. Every week in Beaver Nation is a celebration, as you should know, and we abide by that on this show. And then we have a little toast at the end of it. So, JP, why don't we start with you?
I almost drank mine and showed it off. I know. It would have been bad after waiting all this time.
After waiting several hours for it.
Yeah, not that it's anything crazy, but we ordered these. We just got them this week, and it's from Humble Sea Brewing, which is in the Bay Area. It's actually in, I believe, Santa Cruz, and then they also have a tap room in Pacifica, California.
Word.
And this one is called Riptide Rager, and it's TDH. West Coast IPA.
TDH.
I don't even know. I don't know what TDH stands for. It could be a drug. I have no idea.
Almost my initials.
It is Terror Bear
Horseman.
No, TD.
It's oh, damn it!
This is a good segue into mine.
Well, now a brewery should make a Terror Bear Horseman IPA. You have been given a strict assignment. Every brewer who listens to this podcast,
you have no choice.
Touchdown home team. Touchdown
Homer Simpson.
Houston. Touchdown Homer Simpson. Wait, so
that's all I got.
Riptide Rager, it's alliterative. I like that can.
It looks like it says hot. I'm looking in a reverse view.
How is the beer though?
It's great.
You gotta tell us how it is. It's great. Like more than you rated a beer 4.4 out of 5, which the listener, if you're new, JP is a stickler when it comes to beer grades. You can follow all of his grades on the Untapped
But
app.
I am nice. I don't give it below a 3.7.
But above a 4, what would you say your highest one was?
Oh my God! I missed my 2000th check-in.
Oh no!
1, 2, 3. Oh, this is perfect. My 2000th beer I've ever tried, I guess at least that I've had on record, was from Assembly Brewing down the street, and it was called Shitstorm 24. Perfect.
Nice.
I feel like that suits my life very well, that I've had 2,000 beers, unique beers.
In the last 2 days.
I give this one a 4.2. It's really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to think.
Your highest, you may have given a 4.5 once on the show, but recently you gave a 4.4.
Yeah. What did I give that for? Oh,
it was like 3
Chronically
weeks ago.
Ill from Great Ocean. Yeah, that was a good one.
That's
what a good name.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's when Benny and I mixed up our the history of the BC Boys, which is unforgivable for both of us.
God, we lost so many listeners after that episode.
We didn't. No, we did not. The listeners are great. They're still here. We love you, listeners. Thanks so much for bearing with our bullshit. This Shitstorm 24.
Shitstorm 24.
JP's beers will always describe the show and what's happening or not happening. As often, nothing's happening. But what's happening right now is Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage's entry into the Reagan Beers segment. You teased this a little bit. Betty often doesn't have anything, but you're excited today.
So what I have is brought to you by Treehouse TH. So there you go. That was a segue.
Treehouse Company.
I don't.
And that's what I have.
Do you know what segue means? You're still talking about the same thing. We haven't segged it to any way. It's the same shit.
I walked in on you guys talking about acronyms of Tear Bear Horseman, and this is just TH.
Treehouse. Okay.
Treehouse.
I approve of this. I approve of this.
Okay, so these are mushroom chocolates.
Whoa.
Are those the same mushroom chocolates that you accidentally let your father-in-law eat way too many of?
Different brand, but same idea. Listen, like, there are preconceived notions and stereotypes about mushrooms, but these are micro dosing chocolate bites.
Here's a message, kids, from your Uncle Ben.
Yeah. Don't listen to the rumors.
Yeah. Pick it off the ground. They all taste great. Some might make you feel incredible. And if you want to make a special treat, take a little bite of chocolate while you're eating that poisonous mushroom.
It is excellent. I've been taking one a day for the last week, and I would highly recommend it.
Is that a pun intended?
It wasn't, but it should be.
JP, I see your 2,000 beers in 2 days, and I raise you 2,000 mushrooms in 2 days.
But they're micro mushrooms.
They're yes. Treehouse.com. Tree spelled with one E.
/merch.
So it might be Treehouse.
It could be
Treehouse. I think it's Treehouse.
I'm going there now. I'm gonna look at this. Do they have a merch store?
They might.
Is this our new sponsor? I'm there, but they don't have a
I have
the cookies and cream
merch store.
I have so much fun. JP, please cut out Benny saying just "I got the cookies and cream," and please use it as a soundbite for the rest of Belligerent Beef's history. Oh my god!
The opening.
I have so much fucking fun on this show, you guys.
We haven't even talked about sports yet. We talked about fake sports.
We've talked about we
got to get Nick Daschel on.
We have to get Nick Daschel on. We have not yet had Nick Daschel on.
Wait, what are you drinking?
Oh. I thought you were going to report your findings on Treehouse.com, a great website that's not quite as good as belligerentbeefs.com or belligerentbeefs.com/merch. My weekly Reagan Beers segment remains sponsored by Fair State Brewing in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you love their THC drinks, that Benny just showed off right there, please go on and buy their THC drinks. Chill State, which can be shipped nationwide, though as much as their support was needed, they've bounced back amazingly in the last few weeks. So no worries, Fair State Brewing is here to stay, but you can still go online and support my favorite brewery ever, like I am doing right now, by drinking a Fair State Brewing Pilsner out of a beautiful tall boy in their finest can, and it's delicious.
Nothing but the best for you. Dare.
It's a 6.9 out of 5.
Nice.
Whoa.
6.9% alcohol, 4.20 rating out of 5.
It might be 6.9% actually. No, it's less than that. I'm not going to even say it.
Benny, how could you not get the churro milk chocolate bar?
Me or Betty?
Benny.
They have a churro milk?
Yes.
All right. That's a good question. I was just looking up. They have gummies too.
Okay, they have gummies too, and they have churro milk. We're moving on from this part of the conversation.
And fruity cereal.
Cheers to fruity cereal.
Oh yeah.
Cheers. We have to cheers.
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 Get well soon, Reagan.
I am going to tease this conversation with Nick Daschel right now. Joining us on the podcast. You know him. You love him. He's been covering Oregon State sports longer than you've been alive. Probably. Maybe not. We've got some old head listeners, and we love having you here. From Oregon Live and the Oregonian, OregonLive.com. Support his work. Get a subscription to Oregon Live today. A fellow writer from the Daily Barometer, just like me. A handful of years apart. But cut his teeth that the Daily Barometer has been covering sports in the state of Oregon and in the Pacific Northwest pretty much ever since then. We are thrilled and honored and obliged to have Nick Daschel on the pod. Let's make some noise for Nick Daschel, everybody.
Let's go! Pew, 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 pew. Hey, Nick.
Mr. Nick Daschel, thank you so much for joining us tonight, taking some time away from your Sunday. Pretty packed weekend. Oregon State women's basketball, Oregon State men's basketball, chiming in here and there on Oregon State baseball and stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for taking some time out of a busy weekend to chat with us three knuckleheads about Oregon State.
Yeah,
sports.
I wouldn't ask too much about Oregon State baseball because A, I don't cover them, and Joe Freeman does, and B, I just don't pay much attention to them because I'm too busy. I'm too busy with basketball and football, so I let Joe handle the baseball. I mean, I know what they're doing, but I don't
Right.
I don't have any great insight on baseball. So
just before you hopped on, Benny gave us a great tour of what's going on in Big Ten baseball right now and how
not good.
and how Oregon State it's not looking
baseball?
great. Big Ten baseball. Yeah, we got to have our eyes on enemy territory at all times, Nick.
Okay. I don't know they're going to schedule next year, but I assume they're going to get some Big Tens and Big 12. So
yeah, that's a good point. They probably will pull a couple of those, at least either at home or I don't know. Do you think? I think they'll probably get Oregon at home, or at least in the state of Oregon. But yeah, maybe they'll have to travel out to the Midwest.
Look at Washington State, Oregon, Portland. But they got to schedule. They got to schedule some SEC. They got to schedule enough to make the schedule tough enough to.
Yeah,
I think that they'll have a lot of those preseason tournaments wanting them to show up too. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, they'll have a decent enough schedule, but they can't do this forever. They can only do it for 1 or 2 years. This isn't This isn't a long term. Yeah. This is not a long term solution.
I think though, if any of our programs, baseball might be the most well positioned to break off independent if need be.
Yeah, yes, but I wouldn't do it long term. It's too hard.
Yeah,
it's too hard to schedule. It's too hard to schedule.
Yeah.
Plus, fans still they want to be able to associate with teams they know. They don't want to. They like certainty and being in a league and things like that. So,
but what if we're the Notre Dame of college baseball? Think about this. I'm just daydreaming right now, Nick.
Huge cash cow, the Notre Dame of college baseball.
And we build
like a giant home run Jesus out in center field or something.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, right on top of the new hitting facility or whatever they're putting out there. But we strike the deal with Apple. We're in every household. We are then at that point the Notre Dame football of streaming sports.
Ooh.
Something tells me being the Notre Dame of baseball doesn't have the cachet of being the Notre Dame of football. just isn't the same. Right. Just doesn't carry the same weight.
Yeah. Probably not, but time will tell. And I'll take this opportunity to switch gears from long-term beats that Nick doesn't cover to short-term beats that Nick does cover. Specifically women's basketball. I think we should start with Oregon State women's hoops, as they are currently, as we are recording this on Sunday night, February 25th, the number 9 ranked team in the nation, might be sliding down a couple of spots after a split in Washington. But Nick, you covered the loss today, which included probably the worst individual quarter of the Beavers season so far, ending in a 10-point loss to the Huskies on senior day. In your recap, you did lay out that Washington is maybe a little bit of an underrated team, given that they've beaten USC, a team the Beavers haven't beaten this year, and they have taken Stanford, an absolute giant in women's basketball, to overtime. And it was their senior day. The Beavs were playing without Reagan Beers, of course, but just sort of, how do you sort of assess where the team's at right now after this split in Washington, with the return of Reagan Beers still kind of looming, and it being, an absolute bloodbath to try and get one of those coveted 4 seeds in the Pac-12 conference tournament?
Well, it's not my job to, play team advocate and not make excuses and things like that. I'm just calling how I see it. How I see it, and I get that the team has to, play without Beers and not make excuses. But this team is completely different without Reagan Beers. Their potential Final Four team with Reagan Beers. Without Reagan Beers, they got to play close to perfect to beat good teams. And I wouldn't. And today isn't a good example because Washington's not really a good team. They're okay, but I mean, if they want to win some of these games down the stretch, Stanford, some of the Pac-12 tournament teams, the NCAA tournament, they got to have Beers back or they got to play perfect to win, because they're just a different team without Reagan Beers. They can do so much more things on offense with her in there. If she's in there, I mean, I think today if she plays, that's a 15-point win because Washington has nobody that can really guard. And if they got to spend a bunch of energy trying to defend Beers, the 3-point shooters are open. It's just a different, and I think they beat USC last week too. Beers would play. It's just a different team, and so I mean that's the first place you got to analyze is, are we talking about the Oregon State team with Reagan Beers, or are we talking about the one without it? Because it's two different teams, really. I think they haven't said this. I have a sense they're going to try to get her in this week. We'll see what happens. I mean, the mask thing is she's going to have to wear a mask. Nobody said she's going to play, but I think they're going to, my guess is she's getting fitted for a mask. She's going to practice with it, see how it works. And then, we'll see how she plays. Some players are fine with it. Some players are bothered. I don't know. It's just, and I don't know how long it takes to heal a broken nose. I do have a lot of doctors on Twitter. I see a lot of people are giving me lots of advice about how, broken noses go. And, I don't know. I just know they hurt like hell. So that's,
Twitter is where I always go for sound medical advice.
There's a lot of experts on there. So, and, the message boards too, there's a lot of experts on there too. So,
well, and with an injury like that too, it's not only can she play through it, but if she plays with it, can she hurt it any worse?
Right.
Well, I think if you put a mask on, I think that's that. But it's still there. You still know about it. Are you going to be as aggressive as you might be, without it? Blah, things like that. So you just don't know. It's unknowable till she gets there. My guess is it'll take a little while to get used to it. Then she'll be fine. And maybe by the NCAA tournament, she won't need to wear it anymore. I don't know. I know Dexter Cano wore one for a few weeks, and he's without it. So
hey, Rip Hamilton wore one game and then kept it the rest of his career because it worked so well for him.
So I don't think people want to play with it. It's probably easier. I'm sure it's easier to play without one than with one, unless you want to give a certain image or something. But I don't think that's Reagan Beers. So, but yeah, I mean, right now this week, there's so many things to figure out in terms of the goal is to get a top 4 seed. And I think if they split these two games, they'll be in the top 4. But there's a lot of tiebreakers that I'm still trying to get answers from the Pac-12 on. Normally it'd be easy to figure out, but the problem is that Oregon, nobody has played among those teams that are in contention. None of them have played like opponents. Like Oregon State's played everybody they played all the contenders twice. Stanford hasn't played Colorado, Utah, UCLA, USC once. USC, obviously has played. I don't believe they played. I want to say USC hasn't played Colorado. I don't know. There's a lot, but anyway, nobody seems to match up in terms of light numbers of games against the same opponents. I'm not sure how the tiebreakers work, but I think if Oregon State splits, they'll be 12-6. I think somewhere along the line, if they get the Utah Colorado sweeps have to come into consideration somewhere. I think that would be enough to get them in the top 4, but I'll know more tomorrow. But I think that's what needs to happen. And I would think they'd beat California at home. So, I think they're in pretty good shape to get top 4, but that's the goal this week. The Pac-12 title thing still mathematically out there, but realistically, there's very little chance Oregon's going to beat Stanford on Saturday. So that one's probably out. And even if Oregon State were to share the championship with Stanford, I'm not sure tiebreaker wise it would work out, in terms of, them getting the 1 seed, but they would, regular season title, you'd still get to share a piece of that. So that's something. But mostly just want to get a top 4 seed. And this year, there are a lot of years where you're trying to position yourself not only to get a top 4 seed, but maybe not to get that 4 seed so you don't have to play Stanford until as long as possible. But I'm not sure that matters this year because it seems like the top 6 teams pretty equal. You just want to get in and play one less game.
So Nick, talking about top 4 seed, we've talked about on the show how if Oregon State did get a top 4 seed, there's a fairly good chance that they'll be playing in Oregon up until the Final Four if they were to make it that far. So I guess
that's you mean the NCAA? Yeah, NCAA. I was talking about the Pac-12 term, but yeah, the NCAA term. Yeah, there's a pretty decent chance. I mean, I see some models have them playing as a 2 seed in Albany.
Yeah,
but I believe that the NCAA is not going to. They're going to find a way to keep Oregon State in the Portland region. It's just there's just too much money to. And there's no guarantee. I mean, if you bring Iowa and Oregon State to Portland, that's probably going to be 3 or 4 sellouts because they play all 4 days. I think there's going to be
you got to follow the money.
So, and so Nick, that was sort of leading into the question of you've been around this team more so than most. You've gotten a sense of the vibe of the electricity around this team in Corvallis. Just curious, what would your expectation or what would you assume would be the turnout if the team were to play in Portland at the Moda Center, and sort of what could that look like for Beaver Nation?
Well, there'll be a lot of people there. I mean, the women's game it's getting more popular every year. I mean, it kind of depends on who else is there, but I think they're going to be pretty close to sellouts all 4 days. Like I said, especially if Iowa's here, it's definitely going to be some sellouts. Wherever Caitlin Clark goes, people follow.
Yeah,
but I think Oregon State would do a big number at Moda Center. So I'm not saying get your tickets now, but you might want to think about it at least. First, they got to get through, the Corvallis Regional. That's one. It depends on what seed they get in the tournament. I mean, if you get a 3 seed, at worst you'd have to play a 6 seed to get to Portland. But if you get a 4 seed, then you got to play a 5, and those are pretty tough games. Those 4 versus 5s. And 3 versus 6 is not easy either, but if you can get a 2 or a 3 seed, then you got a better chance of advancing to the Sweet 16 and on, because you're not having to play a 5 seed who's kind of a de facto 4 seed even. So
right.
And I think I don't know. There's going to be another reveal on Thursday for the Stanford game with the NCAA's thinking. My guess is right now there'll be a 3 seed. A bunch of teams lost today, from what I understand. I haven't looked, but I think a bunch of teams lost. I know 3 teams above Oregon State. What's that?
USC lost.
Yeah, USC. Yeah, I mean this past week, Iowa's lost, USC's lost, Stanford's lost, NC State has lost, and that's just. And I don't even know what happened today. So yeah, a lot of teams have lost. So I think they're still in pretty good shape. There'd be a 3 seed going into Thursday's reveal. So if they can, if for some reason if they could beat Stanford and finish out, and then maybe win their first game at the Pac-12 tournament, I gotta believe they're at least in the top 4 and probably a 3 seed in the tournament. A 2 seed means they probably got to win out. I would think they probably need to win these last 2 and maybe, I don't know, and probably win the Pac-12 tournament, or at least get to the championship game.
Yeah, I would love to see.
They got to play, but a lot of that, but they got to play better than they did today for sure.
Right,
no question about it.
I was gonna say, if we had a full squad, though, I would like to see another. Well, now an experienced Reagan Beers and Caitlin Clark with rematch to last season at the PK 8000 whatever 5. And we bumped into you there, Nick, watching that game.
Yeah, I mean, I've only watched Iowa 3 or 4 times, but I think Oregon State's got a shot against Iowa. I mean, the rest of Iowa's team is not. They've got some holes. I mean, Caitlin Clark can score 50, but they got some holes. So they didn't have a heck of a time guarding Oregon State.
Yeah, especially I think Reagan and if Talia is on her game like she was last year against them. I think what happened, at least in my mind, was, of course, Reagan kind of jumped on the scene. The game prior, she had like 28 points or whatever. Everyone was excited to see this matchup, this young freshman come in and establish herself as a phenom against one of the game's greats at the time. And I think that, Iowa probably just was like, we're not letting that narrative ride. Right. So we're clamping her down. She didn't get as many minutes. She didn't look as, I don't know, as in command and control on the court against Iowa, but I would like to see them go up head to head now. I guess on that front, considering, this year there's been some injuries, but knock on wood, it's been a lot better luck than we've had in years past, especially years that we either needed to be developmental or years that we needed to be successful with some of our veteran leaders. What ways, though, have you seen this team grown from like last year to this year, for example, especially, given a lot of the younger players had to step up with Talia being injured most of last year. And now this year, them gelling and staying fairly healthy. Like, what is the biggest difference that you've noticed from the growth from last year, this year, compared to other teams that had to struggle through an injury-riddled season and then come back?
I don't know. I think I disagree about the injuries. Beers was the only one they've had this year, I think. I'm trying to remember. Has anybody else even missed a game? I don't know. Anybody's missed a game. That's the thing. They've been pretty remarkably healthy this year.
Yeah. This year has been great. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
usually you miss somebody. Usually get somebody. Yeah, no. I mean, those freshman guards have been a pleasant surprise, particularly Hunter. I mean, we knew she was going to be pretty good. I didn't know she was going to step in and be this good. I say this good. I mean, she still has got a lot of room to go, but I mean, she's defensively has been pretty good, and she handles the ball fairly well, and occasionally it turns into a score. So that's been a pleasant surprise. I'd say, Tamia Gardner, we didn't really see a lot out of her last year because she got a late start, and she's been a force, particularly on the boards and shooting threes. That's been an upgrade that we didn't see last year. Defensively, they're just miles better than the last 2 years. They're the best, probably the best defensive team in the Pac-12 this year. I mean, that's really what Oregon State is. If they can defend and rebound, they're going to win a lot of games, and that's what they're doing. They're defending and they're hitting the boards pretty hard. So those are the two things that have turned them in from the quote unquote 10th pick in the league to a team that can finish the top 2 or 3 in the league. Is the defense is a lot better, and the rebounding has been there.
What do you think Hunter's ceiling is?
Oh, I mean. Well, it's I would think next year she's got a shot at being an all-conference guard. She's got to get more confidence as a scorer. But we saw how Sid Weiss played over her career. I mean, that's kind of not similar players, but they're kind of on similar paths in that a lot has been asked out of her as a freshman, and just like Sid, and I could see them being that impactful throughout their career, maybe in different ways, but yeah, she could definitely be a multiple year all conference guard.
Not a bad comp. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the same player, but
right.
But I can see the impact being similar.
Right. Well, speaking
and
of
Donovan is, I mean, she's an athlete that they haven't had many players like her. I mean, if you look at her, you go, man, she wanted to be a track athlete. You could see a number of events she could be good at. I mean, I could see her. I don't even know if she's interested in track, but I could see her being like a heptathlete, something like that. She's just an athlete, and that's something Oregon State they haven't had somebody of her ilk for a while.
And that might we brought up, Sid Weiss, and that athletic presence might be why I think, we haven't heard Scott really be super declarative in any of his language around the team this year. He has said a few things, like after the UCLA game, he said that might have been the best win that he's ever been a part of. He hasn't quite compared the team to the 2016 Final Four team yet. But obviously that's kind of the discourse in the fan base and in those who follow like women's college basketball nationally have been thinking of like what you recall from that 2016 team.
Well, if you read between the lines, he's kind of said that. He's been saying that there is a team he doesn't feel like they can't play with and beat in the country. I mean, he's been pretty effusive with his praise on this team. I don't know if he's been out and out. I don't know if people out and out asked him, is this team as good as the 2016 team? But I think that question's going to get asked pretty soon. But I think he's kind of said that this team's as good as he's had in a while.
Right. Do you with a healthy Beers in there, do you think this team is as good as the 2016 team?
I mean, that team got there. I mean, this team would have to prove that they could get there, but
sure, yeah.
But I think this team has got so many options that opponents are going to have trouble defending all those options if Beers is in there. So they got a shot. I mean, I wouldn't say they're as good until they get there, but then you can start comparing them. But so I don't know. I mean, they're close. I mean, they got a shot. I'm not going to say they're our Final Four team, but they have a shot with Beers for sure. I mean, that team also won the Pac-12. That team also won the Pac-12 tournament, won the Pac-12 championship. They beat Was that the year they beat? No, it was the year after they beat Stanford down at Stanford. But I mean, that was a pretty good team. Not Connecticut, not UConn good, but they're pretty good.
It'll be interesting because I don't remember exactly how the Pac-12 fared that year. Obviously, Stanford was good, but the Pac-12 seems so stacked this year that it seems like they'll probably be a little bit more battle tested as they go into the NCAA tournament.
I mean, you would think so. I mean, shoot, if you look at the net rankings of the top 20 has got a ton of Pac-12 teams. I mean, it's the best conference, top to bottom in the league in the country. Yeah. That doesn't mean that South Carolina is the best team in the country, or or someone else is in second best, but top to bottom they are. So, I mean, other side of the day with Washington. I mean, Washington is beating Oregon State, USC, darn near beat Stanford, and they went into last Friday's game. Had they not won, they would have been the 12 seed right now in the Pac-12. So, I mean, top to bottom,
crazy.
It's a great league. It's certainly better than the men's league, that's for sure.
Yeah, which I'm glad you brought up.
Is that the segue we were waiting for?
That was the segue we were waiting for. So obviously, they got a very rare road win this weekend, and I think it's fair to say that this team has struggled throughout the year and the last couple years. How would you assess this team, and where do you see the future going? And like specifically in that question, do you see this team being able to be sort of rebuilt and contend under a Coach Tinkle, or do you think that a move should be made and that we may have more success going down that road?
I think people better get used to the idea that Wayne's going to be the coach next year. I don't know how you can. I don't know. You can like Wayne, you can't like Wayne, but you can't argue with $8.7 million. That's just going to be too. I just don't think in the current environment you can pay off a coach and then go to the state and say, hey, we need money for this because we're because of our situation, and we go to other people to ask for money and then pay a guy off $9 million. I just don't think you can do that right now. It would just be bad luck. Could it happen? Well, sure. Maybe some donor will step up and do it. I wouldn't do it. I think they're better than last year. I think they're better. And I've been saying if they can keep this roster together, big if. I mean, I know in today's era, huge if. I mean, we don't know what it's going to take to get Jordan Pope or Tyler Bilodeau. But if they can keep this roster together, I think we could finish in the top 3 in the WCC next year. I mean, Gonzaga is not the Gonzaga we've seen, 5 years ago. Yeah. St. Mary's is solid, but they're not spectacular. I think Oregon State, they'll have veterans next year. They haven't had that. The last couple of years. So, I mean, I like where the team's going. I mean, there's some things I don't like about this team, but I think in another year they're going to be pretty good. Well, the WCC, pretty good. It'll take you a long way.
Right.
So, right. But again, a big if if you can keep Jordan Pope around. I mean, I'm told he loves Oregon State, but is he going to love it if somebody offers him $500,000? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they will, but.
What about his relationship with Coach Tinkle? Like, does that come into play as well? I mean, is that a potential reason
it has to
retain?
It has to. From what I understand, they get along great. Yeah. But again, in this era, it's not even always about the player. It's about who's in the parents' ears and who's in the the handlers' ears and things like that. And it's just you just don't know who you're dealing with these days. And so it'll be an interesting window when the portal window opens later in March, where what happens with a couple of Oregon State's key players. Yeah. I mean, I think Bilodeau is every bit as impactful as Pope down the road. I mean, I think you get another year in the weight room with that guy. I mean, skill wise, he's taken a big jump this year. I know. I think he's be pretty good. So, but again, I mean, I'm not saying obviously they have some holes this year. I mean, they had way too many blowouts, but they've been competitive in most of their games. It's just been those 5 and 6 minute spurts that just killed them in several games. Otherwise, they might already be to 15, 16 wins by now. It's just those.
How much of that's important though about finding like a third reliable scorer, because it does seem like when those lulls on the offense happen, it's when either Bilodeau or Pope or both of them either are slumping in that moment of the game and on the court, or one of them's off the court and one of them's slumping. But it's a combination of, if neither of those guys are either on the court or getting it going, then like no one else seems to be doing it. So
Michael Ratai has shown some ability to be that guy. He got off to a slow start because of his shin injury. He got off the late start this year. He could be that guy. They've got to go. They've got to go out and get another. They have to go out and get another post. I mean, it's clear that Casey Ibekwe is not somebody you can rely on to play 30 minutes a game. You got to have some help there. And I don't know what Show Mariel's, long-term features. I can't remember if he's still got another year. I don't know if they have to petition for another year, if he's got another year. I can't remember. But they got to get somebody else to go with Ibekwe, because, look at yesterday, 9 fouls between the two guys in 22 minutes. Right. They just have to go out and get somebody else that can play inside, and they got to get another. And they're going to have the kid from Southern Idaho, sat out Nate Mayhoff. I'm trying to remember how I say his last name. It's been so long since I've thought about him. But he was a guy they were really counting on him this year. They thought he was going to be an impact player, so he's a guy that will be there next year. So just finish the season strong. Maybe. I'm not saying. Oregon looks vulnerable. I don't know. Could they win Wednesday? Maybe. Oregon's down to 7 players now. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It was close. It was certainly close in Corvallis, and then you finished with Utah and Colorado. And man, Utah looks like a totally different team when they don't play in Salt Lake City. So. What if they won 2 of their last 3? Maybe won their Pac-12 tournament opener. That'd get them to what? 15 wins. You could sell that, but you got to keep those players around. That's the key thing. It doesn't really matter how many wins you finish the season with. The key thing is keeping this team together.
Yeah, providing a path that shows them how you're getting back to the tournament. I'd imagine that's what most of these guys. I know a lot of them. If they're interested in the portal, or they have people talking behind the scenes, money does talk. But there's got to be some weight that gets carried if it's like you'll get to the tournament, right? And so I'm sure if there's no answer for them,
I don't know that telling a team you can get to the tournament, the player getting to the tournament's enough. They got to get some money. And somehow they got to find a way to get Pope and Bilodeau, a few of those guys. I know the one beauty with having foreign players is I don't believe they're eligible for NIL.
Yeah, they're not.
So that's
wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's
American dream.
That's the beauty. I guess that's the beauty with Michael Ratai. You don't have to worry about NIL with him. But
wow.
So, but no, I don't know. It's not as hopeless as some people want. All you have to do is read my Twitter timeline to see the Eeyores out there about Wayne Tinkle is the worst, and he's a bum and everything else. And I that's what they want to think. They can think that. I don't know. Wayne's as disappointed as anybody, I'm sure, but.
Well, I think
I can see the progress. It's maybe not as much as you'd hope, but there is progress.
Well, there was a massive hole after the Elite Eight team that occurred, right, to dig himself out of. And I do agree that there's definitely been progress, and we see some of the talent developing with Pope and Bilodeau. And Ratai was an exciting get, especially when he first signed and coming from Germany. But I think what you touched on at the beginning, Nick, is like people just got to get used to this. We've talked about this, and like we don't like to call for people to be fired, no matter what. Like our own personal feelings are, like it's not in our control. It's not something we have a say in either. So putting it out there just feels like it doesn't really do anyone any good. Right. But I think outside of that, like just the logistical financial standpoint of there's no possible way that the school would be able to swallow the buyout that's required on the rest of that contract if they did decide to move on. And that's why it's difficult to try to, preach this to people, but you maybe just buy in, even if it's not ideal. Like the players are here, the coaches are here, they're the ones who are here, and maybe just give it a shot. Because, Tinkle's caught lightning in a bottle before, and if he's going to be here, like, you might as well root him and this team on and, like, show them why there's at least some fan support, and then maybe that'll help drive NIL.
And the other thing that people, I don't know if they forget or don't want to remember or anything, but that Elite Eight team had 3 senior starters on there: Ethan Thompson, Zach Reichel, and the Roman Silva. This team really doesn't have, other than Dexter Connell, doesn't really have any veterans. A lot of these teams have veterans because of the COVID year. There's a lot of teams playing with juniors and seniors out there that Oregon State doesn't have. Next year they'll have that if they can keep this roster together. So, there's reason to think this could get turned around to some degree. Is it going to get turned around into a 25-win team? Probably not, but it could get turned around into a nice, solid 18 to 21-win team next year if they can keep this roster together.
That'd be incredible.
This is a hard thing to diagnose, but what is the deal with this team when they play outside of Corvallis? I believe the updated mark, which was in your lead in the recap of the win against Stanford, was 2-40 in the last 42 games away from Corvallis. I know progress isn't just something that's shown like in the wins and losses column, and there's been a lot of stretches of good time on the floor with some of these young guys and how they've developed as players. But even in the WCC and a different non-conference schedule, you're going to need at least about 5 to 10 wins away from Corvallis to have a win-loss record that people will be happy with, or that could get you into the NCAA tournament or the NIT. And it just sort of seems like this team plays really well in Gill and then just turns into slime on the road. And that's been kind of a theme of the Tinkle era. And it's like, I want to be bought in on Wayne, and I can be there at times, but then I watch them lose by 40 on the road. Just obviously they had a nice win at Stanford, which was great to see, but just kind of like, what are your main thoughts on watching this team anytime they have to play outside of Gill?
Well, I'd say it goes back to what I was saying earlier. They're young, and teams that aren't very good and young don't tend to win much on the road. I mean, that's kind of, you just look throughout college basketball. The young teams, they don't win on the road. The 3-28 team, I mean, that record, a 2-40 record, also includes that horrific 3-28 team that just couldn't get out of its own way. And then last year it was a lot of freshmen and sophomores, so they just weren't ready to win on the road. This year, they've had some uneven performance. They've had some really, really bad performances on the road, but they've also had some games where they could have won at Cal, they could have won at UCLA. They were in Arizona State for a while. Last year, same thing. They had a few games on the road. It's just, give them another year, and it's been bad on the road, but it hasn't been. I guess you have to look at the performances, I guess, and see. A lot of it, like I said, a lot of it has to do with youth and whatnot. Plus, the 3 neutral site games, those were against pretty good teams: Pitt, Baylor, and who's the other, Nebraska. I think Nebraska's pretty good this year. Isn't Nebraska pretty good this year? I can't remember. Yeah, but I don't know. They just, that's been something they'll have to get better at. But I think the experience will fix some of that
for sure.
Nick, but money will fix more of it.
Well, I got one real quick, Benny. So I guess, Nick, how much time do you got? Because this one, maybe I don't want to go in too much of a rabbit hole here, but this one, it goes bigger picture. It's not so much about fixing the road wins. It's not so much about NIL, but maybe it's something bigger than that. What is happening for the last 30 years to Oregon State men's basketball, and why does it feel like we are one of the few schools that can capture its rich history and build upon it in this day and age?
It's a story I've been meaning to do, and I don't really have a lot of great answers for it. So I wanted to ask some former players and whatnot what they thought. I mean, if you look at it, the basketball facility is pretty good. I mean, and that's where the players live. So I don't think that's an issue. I mean, it's a small state to begin with. I'm not sure the Oregon, if they weren't, bringing players in through the portal with NIL and all that, how much better they would be either. I mean, it's tough to win in a state this size. It's just kind of the population. I mean, let's be frank. Gill is a dump. It just is. I mean,
it's our dump.
I mean, sitting upstairs, I mean, you pretty much need to be half naked to sit up there. It's so hot.
It's so hot. It's so hot there.
Benny enjoys doing that.
It's unbelievable how the difference in temperature between the floor and the top of Gill Coliseum. It's just, but I don't know what you do with Gill, because if they could build like a nice 7,000 seat arena, I think that'd be great. But the amount of money it would cost, and I'm not sure what you do with Gill, because isn't Gill
It's
on
historic
the
landmark.
historic? Yeah, it's just I know they want to do some things with Gill, but I don't know, something's got to be done with that. But
by things, do you mean like major renovations again, or?
Well, they're gonna Scott has talked about doing something internally, building some, I guess, freshening it up with some premium seats and things like that. That would cost, a fair amount of money, but not what it would cost to build a new arena. The problem is, I mean, with basketball, even if you had a great team, the money you make is still not it doesn't move the needle that much. I mean, I look at the records, the numbers last year. I mean, men's and women's basketball combined didn't make as much of the ticket sales as baseball did. And I don't know even if you doubled it, it's still not going to be huge money. So I don't know. It's just, I think the population, I think Gill, tradition the last 30 years, just those three things there. Yeah, it's I don't really have any good answers. Those ones I was going to kind of go out and try to find some answers, I guess. Ralph Miller isn't coming back, and I don't think even if Ralph Miller was around, he could. I'm not sure what kind of a coach he'd be in this era, but I don't know. So it's a good question. I don't have great answers for that one. Because it's a football school, isn't it? Isn't this a football school?
Or golf school, football school.
Even if like you
school.
had a new arena, I don't even know if that solves everything. Because like you mentioned, Nick, the facilities are where the players spend 90% of their time. So, I mean, I think a crown jewel of a stadium it wouldn't hurt a recruiting visit, but I don't know how many more players you get access to by having a nice arena on top of a nice facility in a state like Oregon, which we can be frank is not generating a ton of blue chip talent locally or even regionally. So it's a tough investment to make.
I think in 2024, the way to build a good basketball program is you got to have a robust NIL program. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, these guys are transferring 2 or 3 times during their careers, and a lot of them are looking for a payday. So it's tough, but I don't really have any good answers. I mean, how's the University of Washington not be? How are they not better than what they are?
Yeah, especially with all the talent in Seattle too.
Yeah, that is an absurd reality in college basketball.
I mean, they have a nice arena. They have a nice arena. They have a good NIL program. They're just they haven't done anything for years. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's been a while.
Nick, we certainly want to be respectful of your time here, but we would be remiss if we didn't get a quick opinion on sort of what your expectations are for spring ball, things that you may be looking at, spring ball, meaning football, things that you're going to be looking for, and then just like very, very early, we're not going to hold you accountable to these opinions, but what sort of your expectations for this coming up year?
Nick, I'm putting this on a shirt, so be very careful with what you say. It'll be sold on our website.
All right, the Eeyores on Twitter will cling on to it, but we don't speak for them, Nick.
Honestly, I have no idea what this team is going to be like next. I know Trent's high on it. I have no idea because they have so many new players. I mean, honestly, I don't know how anybody could really think they're going to be 12-0 or 0-12. I mean, they're not going to be 0-12, but they just
hopefully.
I mean, they've got Martinez and Gray, and I guess Jermaine Terry, you can call him a starter, back on offense. On defense, they've got Robinson and
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
as
like
starters. Yeah.
Okay, let's just say. Well, I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Let's say they have 5 stars. But what team on earth when you go to the preseason magazines, you're going, man, five returning stars. Give me some of that. I mean, that's not. But yet, they want us to believe this is going to be a good team, and it might be. But I just don't know until they get. And this is probably the way it is a lot of schools because of the transfer portal. But
so. Nick,
yeah, I mean, I'll be watching. I'll be watching to see what Hayward does with the defense. What kind of changes he's doing there. What they look like up front defensively, because that's going to be that's a big turnover from last year. Quarterback's an easy one. Obviously, we're looking to see But again, I mean, I don't know how much you're going to learn during spring ball about a quarterback. I mean, we can see what kind of arm he's got, and what kind of timing he's got, receivers, things like that. But the running back position is stacked. The offensive line, I think, is going to be pretty decent. So I think you can at least count on, some productivity on the offensive side. I honestly couldn't tell you if this is a 6-6 or a 10-2 team right now. I mean, we don't even know where the road games are. We don't even know how the home and road games stack up in terms of, do they have back to backs?
Right.
They've never played at Air Force, and that game's going to be a bitch. I mean, nobody likes to play Air Force. Nobody likes to play Air Force because you don't practice for that kind of offense, and so
right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting. It's going to be as interesting a season as we've had in quite a while because I like I said, Trent's high on it. At this point, I'm going to take him on it for his word. But
and real quick, Nick, just like we've talked about this on the show, Oregon State clearly doesn't have the NIL collective or the funds in the NIL collective that some of those big tier schools do. Do you have any indication on what Trent's pitch was or what the coaching staff's pitch was to these players? Because from a prospect perspective or a rankings perspective, Oregon State got a haul in the transfer portal, when schools that have a coach that leaves at the very end of the season typically don't, and especially given Oregon State's sort of unique circumstances that they find themselves in. Do you have any idea of how the coaches were?
I don't know if this is I don't know if this was a number one pitch, but it was way up there. It was the opportunity to get to the CFP, and so the path is there. It's probably if they just set up. If the team is good, they're set up to get to the CFP if it's good enough. I just don't know if it's good enough, but the schedule sets up. If somehow they could beat Oregon at home, which is a big if, Oregon's going to be good. The rest of the games, there's no killers on there other than maybe at Boise State. And I don't know what Boise State's going to be exactly like. And the Air Force will be a difficult game, but there's no, top 10 teams on the schedule. And I think that's the selling point is that, come here. And the problem is if that's what you're selling, if that's one of the big things you're selling, you better deliver, because if you're 3-3 after 6 games, and a lot of these guys thought they were a CFP team,
it could get ugly.
I don't know what happens, but you sold. I'm sure he sold Corvallis, which he loves Corvallis and he believes in it. Sold Oregon State in a developmental program, which he believes in, and he's correct. So, I mean, he's got stuff to sell. Just the uncertainty of everything at Oregon State just makes it hard to know how things are going to turn out. But I guess that's what's going to make this next year interesting. Is we'll see what happens. I mean, there's not going to be dull days down there this year. That's for sure.
Nick, one kind of follow up on that, and I just thought of this as you were talking, and I can't recall exactly where I read it, but it was an interview with Coach Bray, and he talked about NIL and transfer portal, et cetera, and he kind of just alluded to not being concerned about it, but bringing guys in, developing them from the get-go, so that when somebody leaves, they're ready to fill in with the next man up. And when I first read through it, I was thinking, yes, I love that mentality. We should always be preparing everybody to be game ready, to be getting better, not just if they're starters or on the verge of starting. But then I reread it, and part of it to me felt like, is he angling for I started coupling the whole maybe there's a CFP promise in there to some of these recruits, and is it, hey, we'll get you the exposure, we'll get you in the CFP, and we'll make sure you land a bag somewhere. And because of that, not we'll help you get there, but
I think what he's trying to say is he's being realistic in that he knows that if he has good players, USC and Ohio State and Oregon and other schools are coming after him with their and so what he's saying is, we want to build our program with freshmen and sophomores, build those guys up so they're ready to go when these other guys decide to transfer for whatever reason, money generally the reason being. So yeah, that's what I mean. Just being realistic. I mean, I don't think he wants to lose anybody, but
is that a realistic expectation though of what the next age of college football is going to look like, do you think? Where there'll be the haves who buy the talent after it's been developed at other schools that are playing regional college football, and then they go play their national college football?
I mean, do we really know what anything's going to look like? I mean, every year it seems it used to be a 5-year cycle, a 4-year cycle. Now it's like a 6-month cycle. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're being real, is Oregon State a developmental program that people are, the big schools are going to come, looking for players? Sure. But I don't know but what are the rules a year from now? I don't know what the rules are going to be a year from now or 2 years from now. What's the ACC going to look like? What are they going to start paying players a salary? Those sorts of things. Are those schools that pay their players a salary going to split off and play at another level? I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things and I mean, I don't love it at all. I don't like it at all. This isn't the college football I don't like. I mean, I just be honest. I don't really like college football right now. It's not what I just don't believe they've sort of lost their way on this stuff. It's like they've just forgot why you go to college to begin with. That it's like the scholarship and all the other stuff that goes with it. It doesn't even matter any. It's just about how much money. A lot of it's like how much money can you make. It's not the same game that it was 10 or 15 years ago for sure. It's kind of sad if you ask me. I'm old obviously. I've been around this stuff, but I don't know. Is this fun? I don't know. Is it fun? It is right now. I don't know if it will be in 5 years. So I don't know what it's going to look like. And I mean, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. But I don't know how to fix it other than to me, the easy answer seems to be move football away from every other sport and make everything else, regional. But
doesn't fix football though.
Well, it could. I mean, it could if they all got their heads together. And I don't know. Seems like there could be two or three levels of football. If you split like the top 60 schools off and played by similar rules and just football only, not everything else. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure all this stuff out, but it does seem like football is. I mean, you see the coaches, they're starting to leave for the NFL and like Chip Kelly. And I mean, is that going to accelerate? I don't know. We're kind of at a crossroads right now, and I'm not sure where we're going with this in a year or two, but I guess we'll find out.
On the question of, is this fun? The essence of this podcast has been to have fun with it no matter what. And I can tell you that we have had to work way harder than we ever could have imagined. We thought we were going to have to make this last realignment business fun, at least for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this job. I mean, this job has become. It's less about the game and more about the stuff off the field. And
right.
I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of business in my background, but I didn't really envision having to do this much business to, just to cover a football team. So anyway, that's a rant for another day, I guess.
Right. Well, spring football will be getting going soon. Spring Showcase, this is as good a time as any to plug, will be April 20th in Corvallis to see the new quarterback show off that arm. to go to the Spring Showcase to not get answers, but to maybe have some fun. And
so with all the millions you make off this podcast, you guys donate this all to NIL, right?
That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. That's what we all looked at each other when we're talking about men's basketball. It's just going to take a really rich donor who wants to have a great basketball
team. Okay, fine, I'll do it.
All right. Don't twist our arm. Yeah, so that's if you really care about Oregon State athletics, I guess make sure that the Belligerent Beast podcast becomes a $1 billion corporation and buy our merch.
And listen to the ads in our episodes now.
Listen to the ads in our episode, and maybe whatever the ads are, go buy stuff from them. And Oregon State men's basketball will win a national championship. And that's how that works. It's as simple as that, right?
Yep.
Nick, thank you so much for being so kind and generous with your time this evening. Great talking with you. Nick Daschel, OregonLive.com, The Oregonian. It's just at Nick Daschel on Twitter, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you've probably already found Nick on Twitter. And if you have been negative or sad or whatever in Nick's comments, shame on you. Bring some positivity to that little corner. Stop it right now. Read Nick's work and support Nick and support all the media who are busting their ass to cover Oregon.
Yeah, buy a subscription to Oregon Live.
Buy a subscription to Oregon Live.
Come on.
I'm a subscriber. It's one of my first reads every morning. It's
my adult daughters need a new pair of shoes.
Buy a subscription to Oregon Live. It's only like $10 a month for great journalism.
It's even less than that when you get the sales. So yeah, I don't know what it is. It's no more than $10. I know it's somewhere between $1 and $10, but whatever it is, it's no more than yeah. So step up and buy.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
Step up and buy. And that Oregon Live can be our official sponsor for the mid-episode ad segment. JP, don't shoehorn in some other random company into this part of the episode. Nick, thank you again so much, and keep up the great work. And we'll catch up with you online, and definitely have you on the show again.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, thanks for your time. Sure.
Thanks, Nick.
See you.
Appreciate it. How's it going?
All right. Almost out of phone here. You guys talked me down to 7% here. I've got 11 messages.
Hopefully nothing urgent.
Since I got on.
Yeah. If it's something urgent, we'll never forgive ourselves.
No, it's not. It's nothing, I'm sure.
It's your daughter sending you the shoes they want.
No.
You get this podcast, Dad.
It's about one of them's about our pod that we do tomorrow.
Nice.
So
nice.
I saved the good stuff for our pod.
Shrewd move. So
I'm not sure what that would be. I'll have to think about that. What is the good stuff? So all right. Well, see you guys later. I gotta go get my. I stopped and got a 23-layer cake from Michael Jordan's on the way home, so I gotta get a little bit of that.
There you go.
That you ever had one of those?
No, but I've heard of them.
23-layer cake.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So
a 23-layer.
See you later.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy. See you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you to Nick Daschel for joining us on this show. The 23-layer cake, which we did talk about at a different time in the show. This might be making things difficult for JP, but Benny is still trying to make a 23-layer cake with cookies and cream, chocolate mushrooms, Baja Blast, and Pineapple Express. He needs 19 more ingredients. This is the interactive part of the show. What other ingredients should Benny put in his 23-layer cake, Beeper fam?
Me.
Could it be at him?
Churro milk.
Churro milk?
Churro milk for sure.
The juice from Jersey Mike's making things Mike's way, Benny?
Ooh, that is very good.
Mushrooms.
Or is Jersey Mike's juice and churro milk one and the same?
Blend them together and add it as a layer.
Who knows? Thank you so much again, Nick, for joining. That will be all of our football and basketball discussion for this episode. We're way over time, as we often are, but we can't get out of this episode without hitting the diamond and hitting the mat and talking some more ball here. We are recording this on Sunday night, February 25th, which does mean that Oregon State baseball has 8 games now in the books. Their second series of the year has come to a close. They now are off for a few days, their first sort of little mini break here since the opening day, where they will welcome North Dakota State to Goss on Thursday. It's going to be highs in the mid to high 40s and a little bit of rain. Sounds like Goss weather to me, baby.
Certainly not south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Certainly not south of the Mason-Dixon line. The North Dakota State Bison is how that's pronounced. It's a bison, and it's spelled bison, but it's pronounced Bison.
So bisons before the game.
Bison. And you can rewatch the movie Fargo or all 5 seasons of the show Fargo, as North Dakota State is in Fargo. Just across the board.
I've driven through.
You've driven through. Fargo's a good town. but we're going to beat their ass Thursday through Sunday. Just like I want to start with the Michigan game, actually, in this past tournament. We played Texas Tech, Arkansas, Michigan, and Oklahoma State. I guess it's not really a tournament, but set of 4 games with the one loss coming in a very tightly contested game against Arkansas, which we will, of course, talk about. But, and as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Benny was hating on Big Ten baseball hard. Something I just like want to see. I don't want us to ever hold back when we play the Big Ten in anything. And I know that's Big Ten people could look at that and dismiss it as loser talk. It could be small potatoes and very little consolation. But
I don't care.
Exactly, JP. 10-run ruling Michigan. Like 10-run ruling another. This is a competitive game. This is the regular season. And you're going up against Michigan, the class of the Big Ten. I get it. It's football money. Like, we fucking know. If you're a hater, if you're in like minute 183 of a Oregon State podcast. If you want to hate on us,
187 actually. Symbolic.
1-8.
Check yourself.
Yeah. That's right.
Check yourself. Like, Oregon State hitters ain't checking them swings because they are swinging for the fences and they are connecting, biatch. But like, just to do that against a Big Ten school, a Michigan program that they might be down this year, but like that's where Barry Larkin played college baseball. Like, Michigan should be good at baseball. That's a school. At Michigan football games, they have James Earl Jones's voice come over the speakers and say, "We are the greatest university in the world." It's the one thing I don't like that James Earl Jones does. So it's not like they're just like,
he went to Michigan.
He did, unfortunately.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He went to Michigan, and he also, him as Darth Vader was less evil than going to Michigan. They're not just like, they don't punt on any sports. So beating Michigan 11-1 in this was just really juicy. And of course, we knew that this team was going to have bats for days, and that has shown up so far these 8 games. We knew the pitching was going to be good, but I think the question is just how good. Like, that's kind of the X factor of if you can dream about Omaha already here in the doldrums of February. And I think you can. And a big part of that has been the performance of Jacob Komatz in his 2 starts so far this season, even though we haven't seen him like super extended, but striking out a career high 10.
Dude,
in that game against Michigan.
Some of those
and they were
nasty. Oh,
nasty. That's my biggest takeaway is we saw Komatz at the broadcasters on Flow Baseball. Benny, I think you know more about Flow Baseball than I know about Fubo TV, which means you could teach a college course on it at this point. Dude, the first at one point, halfway through the highlights, I just heard like, well, it makes sense that his last name starts with a K. And it's like, how long have you been sitting on that nugget, Flow Baseball? But 10Ks, I think that's the biggest exclamation mark from a weekend with many exclamation marks.
Yeah, well, and Aiden May looked incredible. Also, for those of you that watched the Arkansas game, Aiden May does seem to be okay. It was just tightness in the shoulder, so we're good there. He looked incredible. Komatz looked incredible. Who the heck did we have pitching today? I forget, but
Segura,
that's right. He looked incredible.
Tom Segura pitches for Oregon State baseball now. I'm sorry, Eric Segura. I'm sure you get that all the time. We will probably make that reference again on the show, but we will apologize for it.
He looked incredible. He gave up an early run to Oklahoma State and then shut him down the rest of the way. But look, like, Komatz got Michigan down. Michigan had 4 hits. They got the 1 run, and then it was all beefs. And this Michigan team, they gave Arkansas a run for their money. They had the tying run on second, right? And so is it a team that we're going to see in Omaha? Probably not, but they're not bad. And we mercy ruled them, which is crazy. Like, and the bats, it's incredible. Like, watching this team, you can really see how if they continue playing the way that they do, they can really steamroll through the Pac-12. It is a baseball team that is a well-oiled machine in February. It's scary. But yeah, I mean, like, it was a dominant performance across the board. And this was a game where Bazzana went 1 for 4, Caraway went 1 for 4. Some of the guys that you really, really rely on didn't. I mean, it was a good game, but like for their standards, not a great game, and you still dominated. So really impressed by the win against Michigan for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, all weekend long, I think there was the concern of reality setting in a way. Like, we're not just, down and getting juiced up about baseball playing in surprise. This is like, we're kind of real deal tournament play. We've got some old foes we're facing off against. We got some old teammates we're facing off against with Dernetti at Michigan. Like, there was a lot of storylines. There was a lot more to execute on to get these victories, like, clearly. And I was curious to see, like, who would fall with the production. It was just kind of coming back to earth a little bit. Who's going to bounce back? And honestly, like, there wasn't a whole lot of movement. I think the only one that I saw that was a nice to see was seeing Guerra get his swing back in in a few ways.
Yeah.
And hopefully he continues to find that stroke. But yeah, he's bounced back. He was hitting like sub 200 after surprise before they headed out to Arlington. Now he's sitting at 300. I think he's still be great to see the total bases, slugging, etc., kind of climb up for him. But look, like, if he can just put the ball in play and get on base, that's enough. The other ones, though, of course, like Travis Bazzana, man. Like, at what point do you already crown this dude like the likely first overall pick in MLB draft? I mean, honestly, like, is it too soon? Because I will plant my flag there right now. It is the level that he has already reached, to me, is insane. It is insane because his trajectory was going this way, but most people don't really follow that, especially after if they have a hot freshman season, they got their sophomore slump. If they had a low freshman season, they're not even on anyone's radar anyways, and then they come out firing sophomore year, and they have a junior slump. Nothing has stood in the way for Travis Bazzana. Dude, Baz is, like, on his way to maybe have one of the greatest years in Oregon State baseball history.
Through 8 games, he leads the team in hits, and more than half of those hits are extra base hits.
Yeah, dude, he was his first at bat, which was the first at bat for the Beavs, was a ground out, but he hit the ball. It had to have had an exit velo of like 110 or higher. It was hit so hard.
In the OK State game?
In the game against Oklahoma State today. But it was hit right to the second baseman. Then he proceeded to go 3 for 3 with 2 home runs. One of them was launched. Like, it was 20 rows deep in right center. And then the other one had another one that had an exit velo that had to have been through the roof because it was a line drive just cleared the fence. Yeah.
We actually just got on the ground reporting that confirms that ball landed in Texarkana.
Yeah. Both of his exit velocities for his home runs today, they're both 111 miles an hour off the bat.
Yeah.
But one went like 400 foot or something feet. The other one went like 380, and it was launch angle.
Yeah. He was incredible. He had not back to backs. It was Tanner Smith had a home run, and then it was Hainline, and then Bazzana hit a home run after that. But it's just, we've talked about it, top to bottom. You can't, there's no room to take a breath for an opposing pitcher. And listen, like, again, Oklahoma State did beat Arkansas, and we almost mercy ruled them. Ended up being 8-1, but it was 8-1 at the end of the 6th inning. Like, it was a dominant performance. And the game against Arkansas, like, look, hats off to Hagen Smith, Arkansas's pitcher. I think it was the first 15 outs that were recorded by Arkansas were all strikeouts. And to his credit, like, he put the ball where Oregon State couldn't hit. They were just really, really well-placed pitches. And sometimes that's going to happen. Oregon State is not going to have poor offensive showings very often, so I'm not worried about that. The pitching from Aiden May was really good. And once Hagen Smith got taken out, Oregon State tied the game in the top of the ninth. So, like, that showed that this team has grit. And it truly was Hagen Smith just having an incredible outing. So I think even though we lost the game, it was a huge positive in just showing that this team has the ability, when things aren't working, to find a way to get back into the game.
I don't think we've mentioned Micah McDowell or Trent Caraway yet, who are both currently riding 8-game hitting streaks to open the season. We might as well just like start or like to cover baseball this year, just like go through the roster and just go down the names and say what they did. The Arkansas game though, Benny, like in particular, like, yeah, like I wasn't discouraged by it. I wasn't even really upset by it, knowing that we have 35 to 40, hopefully more games to go this year. What made me sad was, why is this the first time that Oregon State and Arkansas baseball have played since the 2018 College World Series finals? Like, that's something that I know, ESPN has the rights to the College Baseball World Series, and they just don't care about the game outside of those 2 weeks each year.
Yeah.
But man, it would have been fun, because honestly, like I'm taking Twitter completely out of this. I don't interact with other fan bases on Twitter because I know that shit sucks. But like, I've met like Arkansas baseball fans, and they are into it and they are about it. And even like they had a viral video of this dude after the 2018 final who went viral. He wrote a country song just about how sad he was about them losing, called the name of the song is literally One Pop Up Away. JP, please play 5 seconds if you can find it.
We were only one pop up away.
Shout out to that Hog fan. But like it would have just been like you can catch lightning in a bottle like that. And I know that like intrigue builds too over time. So like people were interested because it's been 6 years since 2018 now.
Right.
But like that was one of those things. I'm just like, man, they should have like next time there's opening in like non-conference scheduling between both teams. And I know there's a COVID year that messed everything up, but like we should put ourselves like Oregon State baseball and Arkansas baseball. We chatted with Nick a little bit about baseball being an independent. That's a series I would love to see continue.
Oh my God.
Yes. Just one game. Like I would love it. And I think college baseball fans would too. And if you're ever trying to get to a point where you're trying to make the regular season of college baseball marketable to people who only tune in late May and early June when, things hit Omaha, like those are the type of series that you need. But
for sure.
One blemish on the weekend, but it's a blemish I'm fine with, to be honest.
Well, and if people thought, or I mean, I guess if you're a broadcast company and you're wondering if those early season games matter, even if they're really good matchups, number one, Oregon State had an unbelievable showing of the Beaver fam there. It truly was remarkable. I mean, Arizona was incredible, but Arizona is a pretty quick and easy flight. This is in Dallas.
Shouts to our guy, Fun Killer Steve, who is in that part of the country and drove down there and made a huge social media presence of it.
There must have been 5,000 fans there, Oregon State fans. Arkansas brought 20,000 fans for the Oregon State game. So if you think that this doesn't matter, like players, obviously they were not involved in the game, but I mean, it was like a regional type atmosphere when we played Arkansas. It really was incredible. Right. Yeah.
Loved it. And we're killing it.
We are killing it. This team is as advertised for sure.
And that I'm excited for them to play at Goss now.
I saw people today talking about putting a second deck in the outfield in Goss, and somebody said they know somebody who is in the know of what's going on, and that there are already talks of getting some sort of architect to put that together. So
wait, cool. Hold on. I have heard that there's potential plan of wrapping from the right field foul pole to the new facility in center field.
Based on what I've heard, the more scaffolding around Goss, the better. Scaffolding equals fun.
They should. It's so hard to get a ticket to those games.
It's so hard to get tickets even in the bleachers, dude. It's insane. Yeah.
Well, and Daschel had made a comment about how Oregon State baseball brings in more money than men's and women's basketball. Oregon State has to be one of like maybe 5 schools to have ever done that, probably. I mean, other than maybe like Cal State Fullerton but like Power 5. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting study. I'd like to see the numbers on it, because even like LSU is a school that does incredible for men's and women's hoops. Of course, they just won the national championship in women's basketball, but I don't know, like that would be a school, depending on the year, where it's just like I've seen their baseball stadium and how big it is and how packed it gets, that like depending on the year you could see those. That'd be interesting just to see what the gate compares to. But yeah, more seats at Goss will never be a bad thing. I got yelled at for writing a barometer article that said about just that. It was my second article ever and got in trouble. So
who yelled at you?
Yeah, I'm not going to
Pat Casey.
say. It was not Pat Casey, but it is
you would never.
They are still in the Oregon State athletic family. And I appreciate the work that they do.
We appreciate you.
I do appreciate this person a lot, but I got yelled at, and I still think I was right.
Yeah,
That's shocking. Sports writer doubles down 20 years later. More at night.
We understand that we all as humans have to grow, and so we're giving them their room for growth. Yeah. So maybe now they've come around.
And what a great opportunity for 19-year-old Terry to provide you this opportunity for you to grow. Because I'm just kidding. I probably could have worded a few things better, but the overarching
theme was like, "What the fuck? Where are all the seats? This is bullshit."
That is essentially what it was.
Yeah. Essentially what it was. Turn to page D4 for more F-bombs.
It was basically back-to-back national championships. Why can't we sit in a goddamn stadium and watch this team play? That was the heart of the piece, and I stand by the heart of it.
So Yuri asked me today, she's like, was baseball as hot of a ticket when you were in school as it is now? And it was, right? I mean, right after the national championship,
there just weren't that many tickets. So like people didn't people didn't really go to Goss.
But I don't remember Oregon State.
I mean, people did. I know people did go to Goss, but
they extended down the foul lines permanently at the end of our time in college. But in the middle of it, they put those bleachers up.
But like we had just one back to back, but I feel like there's more like emphasis or like more interest, or it's become more of the culture. I guess that's probably a better way of saying it, is that it's become more of like the fabric of Oregon State.
But I also thought of this too, because I've been trying to get tickets for a while, and over different years, the last few years since I've moved back up here, and sometimes I've been successful, sometimes I've overpaid, clearly, like beyond just market rate. But what I kept coming back to was, God, I don't remember being this hard in college to get tickets like this.
Yeah,
that was because we didn't have to, and you have to always remember we had
tickets
free
for free.
Tickets in a designated area to sit.
You literally had to show up to a specific place at a specific time.
So I'm sure they might have been as hard. We just didn't know because we were getting
If you were Benny, you cut in line and you got booed for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Worth it.
Worth it. Yeah. Still worth it. I think we need to get out of here.
Yes. Thank you.
Gymnastics. Sorry, we didn't get to you enough, but we will make it to you next week.
Nice win.
Nice win against Arizona. We will talk more gymnastics. This is me putting it into the universe, so we'll have to do it and hold ourselves accountable.
Yep.
Coach Chaplin, you can yell at us. You are invited to yell at us.
Handstand.
She does not have time for that. No one. I might. But thank you again to our guest. I have time, but thank you again to our guest, Nick Daschel. Thank you again to Fair State Brewing for sponsoring my section of the podcast. Thank you again to the name of the brewery that makes Riptide Rager for JP's, Humble Sea in the Bay Area. We love the Bay Area. Thank you again to Ben's drug dealer for the cookies and cream mushrooms that he got. Treehouse or Treehouse. Treehouse or Treehouse.
Try both websites. See what you come up with.
The same initials as me, Terry Horseman. Coincidence?
Weird.
I don't know.
Think not.
I think not. You better not. Thank you again, listener, for joining us on this 131st episode of the Belligerent Beavs podcast. Always a pleasure, a joy, an honor, and a privilege to be with you. I'm Terry Horseman, at Terry Horseman on Twitter, and at Terrence Hostman on Instagram.com. You can follow me at either of those places. And also my beloved co-host with me, as always, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage, a.k.a. Benny with the Good Quaff, a.k.a. Benny Blastoff, a.k.a. Benny Burner, a.k.a. Benny Bowl Game, a.k.a. Benny Bedlam, because he's fucking crazy, folks, a.k.a. Benny Scoops, which is one we haven't used in a while. But you're back on that scoop game, scooping that cookies and cream out of the container right into your mouth, boy.
Yeah, that's right.
And at Benny L 1986 on all social media channels. And of course, our man up in Portland, the man behind the ones and twos, steering our ship, keeping us clear of treacherous waters, and always in the calm waters, JP Bertram. That's at the Trial J on Twitter. That's at the _Trial_J, because he's too trial to be real. Sorry, I stuttered over that, JP. It's a long episode. I apologize. But also at JP Bertram on Instagram. And you can follow us, for gosh darn sake, here, wherever you are, Corvallis, Portland, Tacoma, Minneapolis, Fargo, don't you know, anywhere in the world, at Belligerent Beeves on Twitter, at Belligerent Beeves on Instagram, at Belligerent Beeves on Facebook, Belligerent Beeves on Facebook Marketplace, selling chocolate mushrooms that are also kind of magical.
They're micro mushrooms.
Blue Sky, which is open to the public now, and I think we still have our thing on it, and we haven't really posted on it. But I do.
I haven't looked at that.
We stuck our
Blue
flag.
Sky?
Tell Andre to pay more attention to Blue Sky now that it's completely open. At Belligerent Beeves / Betsy on Etsy, selling the high class micro chocolate mushrooms and other artisanal products. belligerentbeeves.com /merch, where you can get a great loyalty cut nets shirt for the women's basketball stretch
sick.
Run, baby. I know. I went back and forth between the black and the white, chose the white for the way the loyalty pops off the rim, which is something the ball never does. It just goes straight through the net, and then we cut nets. That doesn't work. Don't put that in the IG reel, Max. And please like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast, specifically Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else. Give us 5 stars. It really helps us grow the show a lot. Leave a positive review, or you can even leave a negative review as long as you give 5 stars. I don't think that really matters at all, which is not a good lesson that we're teaching the world. But give us 5 stars and then say whatever the hell you want. And also, please take a moment right now, pause the show, pause whatever you're doing, and just share the show with a friend. Text them the link. Be like, yo, these guys don't suck.
I care about you.
You are my friend. I care about you.
I don't want to
see
you suffer.
Let's not suck together. And then it's like, hey, look at all of us not sucking as a society, as a community, as people, as a beating heart.
This is what 2024 is all about.
This is what Shitstorm 24 is about. Please let us know what ingredients you think Benny should add to his 23-layer cake.
19 more.
That he will absolutely be trying to cook at some point during Shitstorm 24. You have until the end of this year, Benny.
It'll be crowdsourced.
Tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of the Belligerent Beeves podcast. But until then, remember, no matter what you hear, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, you cannot spell chop 'em without hope. So, chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Beeves back, baby.
Uncle Benny says, pick your micro mushrooms.